I woke up this morning and I had so much going on in my head just upon waking up. Like, from all of the political things, from this nonstop just bombardment of everything we've been experiencing the last, truly probably the last 10 years, but really the last 8 months. And I keep thinking, this is too much. This is going to get exhausting, right? There is only so much I can do. And I realized that I needed to prioritize what I thought is the most important, right? I don't know everything, and I know that I don't know everything. And there's so much to know, right? There are people who know more about it. Great. I want to hear from those people. There are people who know about it but spin things. I'm going to have to try to figure out who those people are versus the people who know about it. So I need to know enough about everything to do that. And again, exhausting. And so as I'm sitting there thinking, and I was thinking of the party I joined because I no longer shared priorities with the Republican Party based on their national platform now. It's just, I don't have those priorities and I never did. And in this new party, they don't focus on platform, they focus on priorities, which is important. And this party is the Forward Party. And people are probably wondering why I didn't just move over to the Democratic Party. Because honestly, mostly I have been an independent. And in Utah, I have enough pragmatism that I was like, okay, I will join with the Republicans. I agree with them enough. I always have. I've been a Republican since I was 18 years old. I tend to be an idealist at heart, but I'm a pragmatist when it comes to figuring out solutions. And to me, for a long time, well, for a long time, but not for a long time recently, um, the Republicans have had more pragmatic solutions to some of those things. I felt like parties were a thing where we all kind of had a similar vision. We just had different ideas about getting it done. I no longer can say that. So this is why we join parties, right? We join parties because there is so much information that we want to trust other people from our party who are telling us about this information, right? And hopefully they're being at least somewhat reasonable. We are joining together because we believe we have the same priorities, and doing things together empowers us, which is why I didn't just go to independent from Republican. I was looking for a party. And as I was thinking about all of these things and how they bombard us, I was thinking about the party I joined and the priorities and what I really believe are the top priorities. The first one for me, actually, there are two that are tied, but there's one that has to be done first. And it's based on all of the things that we've been experiencing the last couple of weeks. And that is greater access to voting for people, right? Greater, we have watched, I have watched, and I have sat in meetings where I've seen it planned, where the Republican Party and the people in power have purposely tried to restrict voting access for people. Now, they have all kinds of different reasons for doing this, right? And I'm not saying that all of them are, what's the word I'm looking for? Like insidious. I don't think that people just sit around being insidious, but I do think that they are looking at strategies. Now, what Donald Trump is asking of Texas is insidious. That is insidious. And having them purposely call a session to gerrymander their state so that the Republicans can now have 5 more seats, no matter what the state of Texas looks like. And Texas can be a very purple state, right? There are a lot of Democrats there. So why is it okay for the president of the United States to ask for that gerrymander? At this point, it is like we are asking, or he is asking, I should say, to win at all costs, which is not a surprise for him. But the Republican Party has decided with Donald Trump, and this has been since 2016, that winning at all costs is worth it, is worth whatever devious thing you have to do, whatever strategy you have to undertake. And there were things that in Utah that the Republican Party did to try to leverage power. And to some extent I was like, okay, I can understand why you're doing that. I don't think that's going to help our cause, but I get why you're doing it. And other things not so much, especially this last time when they got it on the ballot for an independent, not last time, it was a few years ago, but they got on the ballot to have an independent commission draw the redistricting lines, right? Which is great, but apparently the Republican Party was like, that's great, and that's a suggestion. Now we're going to do what we want. Kind of stepping around the fact that the voters wanted an independent commission. Now, you can say all day long that we are a representative republic and not a democracy for a reason, right? No mob rule. Great, but we're talking about people ignoring, right? It's still we the people. And I think when the founding fathers were setting up this representative democracy, right, we still didn't have like compulsory education. We didn't have, sorry, I said compulsory, that is not a word, compulsory education. We didn't have access to the amount of information that we have now, which can also be a problem if we don't know how to sort it. But we have a lot of information. Voters can be educated. I think we see too, voters can be uneducated, but that's not the point. The point is restricting voter access, right, to the ballot by making it so that we don't send out mail-in ballots anymore, right? Mail-in ballots help people who can't get to the polls. Now, if you want people at the polls, let's make it a national holiday, right? Or a state holiday, depending on where it is, so that people can get to the polls. But if you just do away with, mail-in voting, that's not cool. We do still have it here in Utah. You just have to make sure that you have it marked, that you're requesting it, that they're not just sending you the ballot. That is a compromise. To me, it still pushes toward, right, people who maybe don't know that they have to request a ballot because they don't watch the news or they haven't paid attention to that because they have busy lives, especially people in poverty who the focus of their life is survival, not politics so much. And so they are underrepresented, right? Their interests are underrepresented. And so as we talk about these things, the redistricting in Texas and all of those things, being an idealist, I feel like I want to uphold the ideals that we don't gerrymander. Nobody should be gerrymandering, right? We should all be listening to those independent commissions, and even Californians who Governor Newsom has said, okay, well, we'll do this strategy. And we will put aside the independent commissions for a while. If Texas goes along with this plan, we'll go ahead and redistrict so we have more Democratic representatives. We will do that so that they are not stacking the House. The Republicans are not stacking the House. And to me, that was horrible. But waking up this morning and feeling so discouraged, and again, forgive my stream of consciousness, but feeling so discouraged about what is going on. And I have to say, I don't know, and I'm not a huge fan of Governor Newsom, but I don't know that he's wrong. I was actually reading in a set of scriptures the other day about people using stratagem to protect, right, to keep their country from being taken over. And it occurred to me that maybe being idealistic isn't going to do it this time. That we have to look for those people who are willing to use stratagem. And I hate that because the Republicans have been using it, right? They've been using it within legalities, and I don't like what they've been doing because I don't think it's opening up access for the people who need it most. It is restricting access more and more, right? We are finding solutions to problems that don't really exist, right? People who are here illegally do not vote in elections. And if you're looking for voter fraud, it is usually the people who are already registered to vote and are very politically active. And some of them who are trying to restrict voting, interestingly enough. But that kind of voter fraud, where somebody from another country would try to vote, happens so rarely and is so negligible that to try to put all of these restrictive laws in place for it is absolutely ridiculous. Because what happens is now you are restricting people who have trouble getting their birth certificates. I have helped people get birth certificates, social security cards. It is not easy. Some people are like, yes, this is the easiest thing. No, it isn't. It's easy when you know exactly how to do it. It's easy when you have the money to do it, right? People who are in poverty do not have $40 to send away for their birth certificate. They just don't. Having an identification card can be hard. Also, if you're constantly moving, those things get lost pretty easily. And people who are poor tend to be on the move a lot. So all of these things don't sit well with me, like restricting voting. So I've realized that probably the thing to focus on right now is access to voting. And the Forward Party in Utah has made that I think it's their number one or number two priority. That they are going to focus on better access to voting, right? Different ways. I think, and just getting it so that we are getting, as a society, more of what we want. Things that are helping people with different experiences gain access so they can advocate for their own lives. Right now, people don't do it because they don't believe that it will matter. And the truth is, in some cases, it does not. Right? I have seen people bare their souls only to have somebody explain away what they are sharing as not that important, right? As just, sorry, but this is how we have to do it, right? Without actually hearing what they're asking for. And in most cases, they're just asking for better access, right? And really the same access that somebody who has more money than they do would have, right? Or maybe the same access that somebody with more connections would have. So I think that my priorities are going to have to be that. My second priority after that would be the environment, because global climate change is real, no matter what people say. Now, here's the thing. We can have the discussion, although we really have done the research, and global climate change is most likely anthropogenic. But we can have the discussion that maybe it's not all anthropogenic, right? But the fact is it's happening. So now we need to decide what to do about it. What are we going to put in place when those natural disasters come that are associated with climate change? Because they will, and they will keep coming. And we have seen some of them. And we have seen what the president has done to gut the things that we have been looking at to manage climate change, right? And I'm not talking just about the regulations. Those are frustrating, but those aren't the big ones. The FEMA funds that people need when those things happen because of climate change, those are important. My priorities are always going to be, right? And again, this is where my religion speaks, or this is how I interpret my religion. This is what's important to me. That I love God first, but that loving God means loving my neighbor. That I can't love God without loving the people around me, taking care of them, making sure that everybody feels like they have a chance, making sure everybody is getting the things that they need to survive. And that is just not happening with the things that are coming down. That is not happening with the way the right-wing politics have moved things over the last 12, 13 years. It has not been good. I can see the fruit, and the fruit that I see is that we are getting to have more homeless people, more people who don't have the ability to buy houses or have families or to do the things they want, right? And I'm not saying everybody should have every single dream, but they should be able to live life according to the dictates of their conscience, whatever those are. And you decide that for yourself, just like I decide it for myself. And I don't get to decide what your conscience tells you to do. And you don't get to decide what my conscience tells me to do. And as long as we are not hurting each other, there is no reason that we shouldn't be able to coexist, even believing radically different things. And that is the beauty of this country. And that is why it is so important that we are pluralistic and that everybody has access to the vote. Everybody. And that those votes get us people who speak for all of us, not just their party, that they care about all of us. Anyway, that's something I had to get off my chest. I know I haven't been doing these things because honestly, again, it just gets exhausting. So if you watched the end, thanks for listening to my rant. And again, I think my focus now, and you're going to be seeing it on my Facebook, and it's what it has to be, is going to be mostly about voting rights and making sure everybody has access to that most fundamental right that will ensure that we all can have a voice and that we all, right, we can't ensure that everybody uses it, but I hope we can inspire people to do it. Anyway, thanks. Have a good Sunday night.